Welcome to Cordkillers, the full experience, a spoiler in time evolution. This show is where we talk about the first, the ultimate, highest rated, the lowest rated, and the last episode of a show to give you the full experience of what that show is like. And Brian, big news. Full experience is basically becoming this show, but spoiler in time is not dead, folks.
Yeah, so there was a time, and we talked about this in the main show, but just to make sure that everybody remembers it and knows it, part of the problem with our previous iteration of Spoiler in Time is that it took anywhere between 3 and 6 hours of homework, usually the night before the show. And oftentimes we would commit to a show that we had thought would be good and ended up hate watching it. And neither of us loved bagging on a show that we didn't like. So we do love talking about stuff that is coming out. And we're going to bring that back in part of the After Talk segment, available exclusively to Patreons, patreon.com/Cordkillers. And what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about things, and it'll be spoiler free. And there'll be a moment of demarcation where it's like, starting now, we're not going to talk about anything else interesting or unrelated. And it is only going to be spoilers from here. So you will have your, and that's it, good night moment. But basically, I'm really excited to expand After Talk and to bring back one of our favorite things, which is talking about stuff that's in and of the moment in the current zeitgeist.
Yeah, we kind of identified there's a couple of different viewers of spoiler in time stuff. There are the folks who just want to know what we're going to watch so they can watch it and then talk about it. And sometimes with some of the spoiler in time stuff, we got a little erratic with it. That's what the full experience was born out of, is the ability to say, everybody can get this. Everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to know what we're going to watch. And then we'll watch it and talk about it. But there's another class of people who are like, I don't really care if I knew you were going to watch it. I just want to hear your opinion on the new stuff that's out. And that's what's going into After Talk. So become a patron if you're not already. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's talk about the ultimate episode of Battlestar Gallactica, the reboot, episode 20 of season 3. This is a test for the full experience on a few mechanical levels. It's the first time we'll be watching a show out of order because the lowest ranked was in season 2. So we're watching a season 3 episode before we're watching a season 2. It's also a part 2 of a highly rated 2-part episode. Part 1 was slightly lower rated than part 2. So we're just watching part 2 to kind of see how that goes. And it's also part of a procedural. So there's a lot of things in this episode, Brian, where you're like, oh, yeah, I'm sort of glad that I already watched this because I know that they went and landed on a planet and colonized the planet and then had to leave the planet. And that's why Baltar's on trial, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot has happened since the pilot episode 33.
Yeah, I found a bit of weird trivia online. It turns out that while the episode was called Crossroads Part 2, originally Ronald D. Moore wanted it to be called Weird Mysticism, the O.J. Trial, and Bob Dylan.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, no, that tracks, especially the way it ends after the trial is over. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna let you go first because I think that we are going to agree on most stuff, and then I'll disagree.
Yeah. The trial part is still compelling. I definitely got caught up. It doesn't work on a second viewing as well for me. But it still works very well. And the reason it doesn't work is the surprises are all gone, right? There's some great twists, some great tension between what is Lee Adama going to do? What is he going to do? Is he going to testify against his dad? The tension between him and his dad. Is Baltar, making a mistake by forcing them to do the trial? I noticed a weak spot that I hadn't noticed before where they do the motion to dismiss, but then they just kind of don't pursue it anymore, and they don't really explain why. They don't withdraw the motion or anything. It's not that big of a deal, but and like I said, I didn't notice it the first time through. But the trial part, I still enjoyed, and I was captivated, and I'm like, this is not just the best episode of Battlestar Galactica. This is some of the best television that has been made. The second part,
let's stick to
well, hold on. This is my opinion.
Okay.
The second part, definitely suffered on second watch. And if you want, I can hold off on giving my opinion on the second part, but I just wanted to put that in there, that the second part worked much better for me the first time through.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to break it, because it really is like almost two totally different episodes, right? Two totally different stories.
So what did you think of the trial rewatch?
The trial, I actually thought did hold up on a second viewing. With first of all, the only negatives I can think of is oh, doggone it, I just realized I got again. One of my pet peeves is watching on television people use canes wrong. Because when you have an injured right leg, you use the cane on the left side. And this whole time, I'm just like, Mark Shepard, Badger from Firefly, is using the cane the wrong way. I hate it when people use canes the wrong way. And I stop, I pause it, and I tell Bonnie, it's like, no, it's supposed to be on the other side. And everyone always does it. And I was like, you know what? The only time I forgave it was in Sherlock, when Dr. Watson was going around with the cane using it the wrong way. But then at the end, Sherlock tricks him into realizing that he didn't really have an injured leg. It was totally psychosomatic. Anyway, that's the only time. Oh, I can't believe they missed that. And then we got to the end where he just leaves the cane, and I was like, doggone it, I got again.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I did not remember that, and that got me too. Although I didn't even notice that he was using the cane wrong either. So you got me on that.
Second of all, it was uncanny. Like I would place an even money bet that the look of Matt Murdock was modeled on Mark Shepard's look. Like I was like, why is Matt Murdock here? But he's not exactly as svelte as he was. And then I realized, but I know, and then I was like, oh, it's Mark Shepard, his Badger from Firefly. Especially at the end, for no discernible reason, he puts on sunglasses, so he looks even more
just like Matt. Yeah. No, I'm mostly with you. Like I'm being picky when I say it didn't work as well as it did the first time because the surprises aren't there, but it still was great television. Some of the best television ever made.
My final thought on the trial was the whole trial boils down to Lee Adama's incredible condemnation of all of their behaviors, and the fact that he says, this isn't we're not a civilization, we're a gang. And it's like he just has this he just calls a spade, and I mean I got goosebumps on that part again.
The writing is so scintillating and philosophical and deep, and sort of a commentary on just the idea of justice in general. It's so well done.
And also there was this brief moment, he's in the middle of it, and I am totally lost in his passion and being in the moment. And then I remember, that dude's British. I'm like, British are good actors.
True. Yeah. Both of those are true. Yeah. Not all British are good actors. I've seen some bad British actors, but a lot of good actors. Yeah.
And before we get to the other story, I also did like the dating teenagers cuddle talk between the president and Adama, like at the beginning of the episode. That was cute.
It's a great way to make you feel their relationship, not tell you about their relationship, which I thought was really good, and kind of a contrast to what's going on with Sam and the communications person later on.
Yeah. Which brings us to...
Yeah, well, so there must be some kind of way out of talking about the trial into talking about the what I remember experiencing as really fun. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are all Cylons. And that's all along the Watchtower that they're quoting. That's interesting. But that song doesn't sound exactly like All Along the Watchtower, but oh yes, it is. And then the huge reveal, which from the full experience, we're like, oh, Starbuck was gone? I didn't know that. And at the time was a huge reveal of like, oh, Starbuck came back. Where has she been? Oh my gosh. None of that worked for me on the second viewing, unfortunately.
Yeah, memory is corruptible, but watching it this time, I will vouch, knowing that it ended with All Along the Watchtower. The first time I watched it, I didn't catch any of the written in drops in the first act, where people were casually using lines from the
There
song.
must be some kind of way out of here and all that.
Yeah, or and it's like, and they're like, oh, there's too much confusion.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then 4 minutes later, somebody was like, oh, can't get no relief,
Yeah.
And then, but then knowing that was coming, the first part was a lot more fun on the second viewing. The second part was just asking too much. And keep in mind, upon first viewing, if you were watching week to week, when they killed off Starbuck, it was absolutely positively unambiguous. And they went on the record in the podcast, where I think Ronald D. Moore was still doing his podcast where he would do the next day, he'd watch it, have a whiskey and tell you about it. And he'd say, no, she's absolutely dead. And then to have her come back and then it was just number one, the ask of a Bob Dylan song being, universal throughout the universe. Okay, maybe. It was, upon first viewing, deeply satisfying. Like, we knew that there were 5 more Cylons to be revealed, and getting 4 of them at once and having them be
was big. Yeah.
Those people, and to think of like all they've sacrificed to get there and how challenging it is. That was fun, both in the past and now. But then, boy, did it get silly. Then all of a sudden, it's just playing 60s Dylan music, and then it's like, that's not enough, we'll give you even more. Leodama's no longer a lawyer, he's back in a Viper. Oh wait, also Starbucks back. Also, remember before when we faked you out and showed an Earth-like planet? This time we're gonna zoom in, and it's definitely the USA.
Hey, North America. Yeah.
Which, by the way, hopefully it's not too big of a spoiler. When they land there, I don't know that the continents were shaped that way.
Well, we don't know that at the time. But yes, what we will eventually find out when we watch the last episode is that it is unlikely that the continents would have been shaped exactly that way.
I don't know. Maybe they were. I don't know.
I don't remember exactly how many. This is a spoiler for the last episode, by the way, but I don't remember how many years before modern human history we're supposed to be. We'll find out when we watch the last episode.
We'll find out when we get to the last one. So did you full on cringe a bit? Like I didn't get angry or upset, but it's like, Bonnie, I did the thing where I'm like, hey, just watch the beginning and maybe you'll want to stick around. And she ended up watching the whole thing. And there was definitely moments in the last 5 minutes that I'm like, okay, like I couldn't help but verbalize like, bit much.
Said the Joker to the thief didn't play. That was the one you couldn't work into regular conversation that well. That was the first time I started to go, and then it's just it worked great the first time, and that's all it needs to. It's awesome when, like the trial, it works great the second time. It didn't for that part, and I think part of it is because we know the ending too. I think that colors it a little bit.
There is one other moment that was really great. So after his speech, like again, I can't recommend the speech high enough. When he turns, he was like, I did this, you did that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and he points, giving voice to everybody in the fleet. But you guys, Baltar, we don't like you because you're hollow, because you're shallow and selfish and a coward. So you've got to be thrown out an airlock. And then immediately upon the verdict coming down, he stands up and he's like, I always knew this was, and he does the a-hole thing. And then he's like, well, I guess we're just going to do this, that, and the other. He's like, no. That moment when he's left alone and he realizes that, no, he's not going to prison. The entire ship is the prison because he's got that body posture, just trying to go about his business, getting pushed around. That was a really great moment. I liked.
Yeah. And it was a great underlining. I'm glad you reminded me of that. It was a great underlining of the fact that Leodama was saying, we're punishing him for being shallow, not because of his crime. Doesn't mean I don't think he isn't shallow. and doesn't mean that I want to be associated with him. It means I don't think he should die. And they underline that when both lawyers in different ways, I love the way Shepard just is like, I'm kind of busy. Sorry, man. Yeah. See you later.
Well, yeah. And on top of that, you have the denouement, that wonderful beat where the president is like, oh man, 3-2. That's rough. I guess you couldn't control the other one. And then just stone-faced Edward James almost. And she's like, And then and he's like, not guilty doesn't mean innocent. And he's like, so you just want to forget it. And he's like, and he says, I don't think anyone is going to forget. And then it's smash cut to.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. Amos, our producer, I think you watched it too. I didn't know if you wanted to jump in here and give any of your impressions, because it was the first time watching it for you, right?
Yeah, it was a little confusing to start off with, but the way the episode is structured, it gave me enough to follow along and catch up what was going on. And I didn't catch the song beats until the very end. Okay, I was like, I know, like the entire time I'm like, I know that song. There's a song on it. What is? And I was feeling it with the cast, with the characters, going, what is that song? Like I've heard that before. And then when it comes together at the end, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. I get you. The reveal at the end of the 4 Cylons was I had no idea what was going on with that. And then I kind of got the clue right before they said it. Like it did the really good job of feeding me the information or the impression I needed right before outwardly, telling me, to give me that cognitive bias. And the ending with Starbuck and the Lee, with them zooming off into nowhere, that was the importance of that was completely lost, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say, okay, well, Starbuck was dead or whatever, but there was no.
And I guess
it didn't carry any weight.
I guess also you had no way to know that at some point this kind of like it's almost like a religious belief of like, well, we could go to Earth, and everyone's like, okay, it's as though you're referring to something in the Old Testament. It's like, come on, that's not a real place. And then there are some true believers, and then sure enough, Earth is definitely the USA.
Yeah. USA.
Which again, the whole thing started, after 9/11, and there's a whole segment that is a direct intentional parallel to rigged elections with Gore Bush, and another section with the U.S. invading Iraq, and they're clumsy when you look at them in hindsight.
We are going to, I love the pace that we have set with the full experience, by the way, where you go like, ooh, fresh new thing. Ooh, here it is at its best. All right. Now that you've seen it at its best, let's see it at its worst and see what you think. Because sometimes we've looked at the worst episode and been like, that wasn't that bad. Like if that's it at its worst, it's a pretty good series. So we will put Battlestar Galactica to the test with episode 14 of season 2, Black Market. So we're jumping back in time to season 2 for the lowest rated episode of Battlestar Galactica next time, Black Market. I don't remember much about this myself. Brian, what about you?
I think if I remember correctly, season 2 is like season 2 was a step back from season 1, if I remember correctly. Season 1 was just golden from beginning to end. Season 2 was like, okay, let's slow it down with some more side stories. We may have a big old cow to milk here. And by season 2, they're established as being ragtag fleet on the run, but there are more stories about the practical day-to-day realities of only having 60,000 humans left in the entire galaxy. And I believe Black Market is sort of like, hey, humans have black market needs, or some humans do, and you got to do what you got to do, if I remember correctly.
All right. We will check it out and report back next time on the full experience. You get these episodes early if you're a patron, and you get to participate in selecting what series we talk about on After Talk. So become a patron if you're not already. Thank you if you are. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you next time.